Thank you all for coming to today's show. First question comes in. What are the biggest reasons to get these? And I am assuming you mean these. What's the biggest reason to get these over a mirrorless setup? To get the Blackmagic cameras over a mirrorless, these are a mirrorless. So these are the exact same thing. I've got my GH4 lens here, and I can put my GH4 lens right on the micro studio camera once I get the red dots lined up. There you go. That's a camera and a lens that zooms. This lens is the 45 to 150, and this is fantastic for the back of a short, not a very long, like a breakout room at a meeting. And you could zoom this into the podium, and it sits there, and boom, you got yourself a great shot. This is kind of like the Mevo Core that just came out. Similar in size, same micro four thirds mount, same micro four thirds sensor. Sorry. The difference is the Blackmagic camera is part of the Blackmagic ecosystem. The Mevo camera is part of the Mevo ecosystem in that the Mevo camera has a built-in battery. It has Wi-Fi. And if you're using Mevo multicam and you have a Mevo start and you're already wirelessly switching, then adding one of these gives you that long-range telephoto shot that you can't get with any of the other Mevo cameras. So you're augmenting the system you already have. If you don't already have a system, then you kind of have to look beyond the camera. When you get cameras, I mean, if you have an ATEM Mini, then by all means, the ATEM cameras have a lot of advantages over going with, say, a Mevo Core, because you can reach into the camera and control it using the Blackmagic software through the ATEM switchers. And I'm prepared to show you that today for those who haven't already tried that. So that is what I mean by ecosystem. It's not just the camera. It can be just the camera. You put a battery on it, you supply power to it, you got an HDMI out, yay, you're done. But if you want to, and there's a menu button and you can go up and down through the menus that you can see on the monitor, and you can kind of do everything, but when you play with it as part of the whole Blackmagic ecosystem, it becomes a bit bigger, a bit more powerful, I should say. The Mevo Core, just the core, is $1,000. And then you have to buy good glass because the core does not come with glass. It should come with just a kit lens or something, but it doesn't. So the Mevo Core is a camera body, kind of like the Blackmagic, micro studio camera, comes in a box with no lens. It shows a lens in the box, but it does not come with a lens. Actually, that's the lens I have right here. And this camera, when you needs a lens on it to even be usable. So that's one of the challenges when you get these cameras is the purchase doesn't stop at the camera. If you want a wide lens, you get a wide lens. And then you're like, oh, well, now I need a telephoto. Well, then you got to buy a telephoto lens. It doesn't come with this 20x optical zoom lens. You have to buy like primes or short zooms and then you pick and choose which lens for which task. People are like, what's the best lens? There's no best lens. If you were out in center field and you wanted to have that shot that you see in baseball over the shoulder of the pitcher at the catcher, you're not going to do it with a wide angle lens. If you're doing a dance, you're going to need a wide angle lens. So different lenses for different tasks, just like different cameras, just like different everything, really. Does the micro studio camera support vertical shooting 9x16? It only has mounting holes on the bottom and the top, but there's nothing saying you can't do that. So, I mean, technically all vertical shooting is horizontal shooting with the sensor rotated. So if you have the in-stream from YOLO Live, It's a vertical production tool, or the YOLO Box Ultra, which can do vertical. Then you would just take your camera and do this with it. There you go. Now you're vertical. So yeah, they can do vertical. Well, the Mini can certainly do vertical. I also have here, let me go back to the wide shot. I also have here the studio camera, which has the mounts on the bottom and has controls on the side. So I would not say this one is as easy to go. I already put the lens on here. As easy to go vertical, although technically if you mounted this on the tripod sideways and then rotated the tripod 90 degrees, then technically you're still going vertical. You can always also just take a center crop. These are all, this is 4K. So if you're doing streaming at HD, you can take a crop out of the center of the image and you're still going to get lots of resolution, especially if you're working on a computer at 4K resolution, but sending out a center crop at 1080. As you can see right here, they've got these studio cameras. The one they sent me is the Plus, the 4K Plus is the studio camera. The Pro gives you SDI. The Plus gives you only HDMI, but you can control these Generation 2 G2 cameras over HDMI, which is yay, cool. And then of course they've also got the 6K Pro, which gives you the EOS mount and the larger sensor. What we have here today is the Plus, which is this one, and this teeny little thing. This teeny little thing. And if in terms of having lots of cameras pointed at the different things you wanted, this is a very cool thing. And the Blackmagic cameras are more than just the camera. As I was saying, it is part of the ecosystem. Here is the camera, and you can see it's powered up with no battery in it. You can go with an external battery. It uses the Canon batteries. And I'm using the HDMI out. There's also SDI out, micro SDI. So if you're using regular SDI, you need a micro to full size or regular BNC. Microphone input mount on the top. It's got 3 mounts on the bottom, so you can do anti-twist if you want. And on the other side, you've got your USB-C for, they actually make lens demands or lens controls. So if you had a motorized zoom, like this one actually is, you can see it move. This is a motorized zoom lens, one of 2 from Olympus, 2. And they make controls that you can plug the control in here and then on the tripod, zoom out, zoom in, and things like that. So that's really cool. And that's basically it. And the rest is, the Batman grill on the side for the cooling and the lens mount. There's no recording in the studio camera, in the micro studio camera. There's no internal recording. But you'll watch right here, you got this nice light on top. Is it on the bottom? No, it's just on top. And when you bring that camera up, it's now red. So it's a tally. In addition to just telling you, that the camera's on, it's also tally. So that way, over the cable, the switcher is telling the camera when the camera is on, and that's just the start of the communications from the switcher to the camera. Because you're getting both the video and the audio over here so that you can actually turn on, excuse me, the audio from camera 1 and adjust the audio over here. They make software that you can run on Mac and PC. And over here is, you can see I've got 4 inputs, and when I tap the different inputs on the physical switcher, the software reflects the fact that I'm switching between the sources. You can kind of look at Blackmagic as you get the control surface, you buy the control surface, and then the software comes for free, as opposed to other solutions where you buy the software and then you need to buy a control surface with buttons. This one, you get buttons. So like if I come over here to the software and I go to the audio page, if I turn on my channel and turn on this channel and turn on this channel and turn on this, you're seeing the software reflect what I'm doing, even though the cursor is down to the bottom of the screen and hasn't done anything. It's because I'm hitting the buttons on top of the mixer. So if I go here, I'm hitting on. So I can turn channels on and off. I can change the levels. I can do audio follows video. I can reset the levels and everything, turn them off. And all of that's possible on the control surface that also happens to be the brain of everything. So, and you've got 2 microphone inputs here. You got your picture-in-picture very basic picture-in-picture. They're not going to build anything like this in the A10 basic A10 Mini. You've got still, and then you've got black, so you can cut right to black. Boom. And it says, the camera says, nope, I'm not up anymore. Still not up. Now I'm up. As opposed to all the solutions with a touch screen, you can't lay your fingers on that touch screen of 4 different sources and, you know, go back and forth between them. Let me just go to cut. You can't go, you know, I'm just doing this like I'm playing a keyboard. And that's one of the nice features of the Blackmagic, is that it's hardware first, but then the software gives you all this additional capability. In addition to the video switcher and the audio mixer, which includes up here equalization. Here's your controls for your noise gate, your compressor, but these are all built into the hardware. And then the real coup de grace, the ability to control the camera through the ATEM software, which is, I'm using the wrong hand, over there. So that camera is on air. And if I switch with the control surface, it's reflected there. But if I bring this camera up, so you can see that's the camera. Maybe I should zoom out a little bit. That would probably be better. So there you go. So that's dark. And then you can go into the software and adjust your gain for the camera. I don't necessarily paint these cameras very much, so we're going to try that. And now that I've messed with it and I go to the camera, you can see that I've totally screwed up the color, but the iris is down to 3.7 now. So you can tell I don't do CCU with the Blackmagic software, but once you do, you realize that this capability in this little camera allows someone else to say, oh, the sun has come out. Let me fix that camera from the switcher. Oh, the sun's gone away. I need to make the cameras brighter. The sun's gone behind the moon. I need to adjust all the cameras for the next 4 minutes because it's now considerably darker than it was when the sun was not behind the moon. And you can do that remotely through the software in the A10 Mini. And that's what makes this very powerful. It's not just the little camera, it's the combination of the camera, the switcher, and the software. This is the studio camera, and you can see it's got I've got the power and HDMI plugged in the side here. I'm gonna rotate it around, and I've already got a lens on here. This is like the kit lens that I think all of these little cameras should come with. It is a very tiny 12 to 32, and the nice thing is it packs up really small. The lens actually collapses into itself. The difference between this lens and the lens that I have on here is this one also, they both collapse kind of small when off, but this one is completely manual and it's plastic. This one, and it's a Panasonic. No, it's not completely plastic. There's metal pieces in it. This one has a focus ring. This one does not. This one has electronic zoom. The Olympus has electronic zoom so that you can control the electronic zoom through the Mevo Core or the Blackmagic camera with the lens demands. So this one is much cheaper because it's very basic. So you can open the lens manually, and then you can manually zoom the range, but there's no focus ring or anything like that. You're relying on autofocus. But in terms of just making a usable camera right out of the box, I think they should come with this. So this camera is also 4K. You can see a lot of space on this side where the SDI cables would normally go. Back here, you've got controls for brightness, contrast, and peaking, which is it heightens the edges so that you can tell when something is in focus and when it's not. Some menu controls over here, power, and then on this side you've got your lens demands, and then over here would be more capability if you had the Pro. And down here you've got headphones and microphones, so that when you're doing comms, which you can do through the ATEM software, you can do comms. You just need like your little earbuds with the TRRS, plug that in here and go back. You just pop that open like that and turn it on. And the cool thing is that lens hood, part. I mean, it comes off, but I would definitely leave it on there because it protects the screen when you're shipping. It keeps it nice and flat. And then when you pop it open, now you've got a nice lens hood to keep the glare off the screen. You've got the same controls here as you would have if you're dealing with this one. They both operate similarly through the ATEM and have the same menu capability there, but you've got a touch screen here, so you can go into this and do all your different setups. So, like, there's my audio being captured by the camera. I can adjust where each channel goes. I can go into the setup for the shutter speed and everything, set my recording. This doesn't have an SD card slot, does it? No, it does not. But I think you can use the USB-C to record to an SSD drive on this. So there's your Blackmagic RAW recording in Ultra HD. And then next page, what dynamic range do you want? And then capture 1 frame every 10 seconds. No, I'm not going to do time lapse. Sharpening, and if the drive drops frames, stop the recording or just give me an alert and keep going. So there's lots of settings in here for recording as well as controlling the camera. And the nice thing is, you know, you have the ability to see your shot, which you don't. This is sort of like put it somewhere on stage and have it look out at the audience and it's just there to cut to. This one is obviously intended that there's an operator here looking at the camera as, you know, they've got the handles and they're following somebody or something out there. And if you had the demands, you could zoom with the 2 lenses that have zoom. You could electronically zoom. What Blackmagic hasn't done is Blackmagic has not put a B4 mount on the front of this, where now if I could get this lens on the front of it, then it would be a studio camera. Because then I'd have my, what is this, 15x parfocal, which means it holds focus the entire way, constant aperture, which is a constant 1.7, and then a smooth zooming with multiple speeds, and a doubler in here to cover the entire Micro Four Thirds sensor that's in here. You could do all of that. All they would have to do is put a lens mount on the camera, which Blackmagic does have on their B4 broadcast, and then a B4 mount, and then in my mind you'd have an even better studio camera. Can this camera, I guess you mean this one or this one, be used for sports streaming in order environment, or it's strictly made for indoor studio, assuming I can have autofocus option? Yes, they can have an autofocus. Well, actually, if you use the Micro Four Thirds lenses, yes, they are autofocus. You can use them anywhere you want. That's why it comes with that hood, you know, for outdoor use. These, you know, this is great for like a goal camera or something like that. It just sits there, you know, caption that, you know, put a big wide angle lens on it for when the ball comes in the net, stuff like that, or behind the glass. You know, you see cameras just like this in basketball, just right behind the basket, looking through the glass. So when you get that bounce, 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 and then it finally goes in, this little camera tucked up there behind the basketball. That's the kind that gets the shot. So it can be indoor, it can be outdoor. They're not waterproof. And if you were outdoors in the summer, it's a dark camera in the sun in 105-degree heat, which would be, I don't know, 25, 30 degrees Celsius. And it's going to have a challenge cooling itself when the ambient temperature, that is ambient air that it's trying to pull through, is already hot. So obviously they will work better in cooled environments. Would a Metabones adapter for the B4 lens work with the studio camera? I think it would. I'm not sure, because I had the same question with the Mevo Core. Put a Metabones on there that is designed to control a Canon lens, you know, the aperture, and they don't have electronic zooms. So you're really just talking focus and aperture. But the ability to adjust the aperture remotely through the painting software, the color control, would be really beneficial. I think it should be supported regardless of camera. I'm guessing at that point. I'm just going to be clear. I have not tested it. I don't have firsthand information. I feel it should. You know, Metabones or Viltrox because it's an electronic control to the Micro Four Thirds standard. I have a separate review on the StreamTech channel for the Blackmagic camera, in depth. And for that one, I actually had the one with the SDI, so it had more capability. So, and I did have the zoom demands. So I demonstrate the fact that you can control the zoom with the zoom demands on the Blackmagic camera. Go check out that review. Also, if you haven't already, is it this one? I did a really interesting video. Let me turn this off. I did a very interesting video over here in the corner. Long zoom lenses on DSLRs, where I talk and I demonstrate the advantages of putting these big ENG lenses on a Micro Four Thirds camera. If I were crazy, I would take this camera and put it on the back of this. I mean, the camera is so small, it looks silly. It just looks like another adapter. This looks purple only because it's being keyed out, because in real life it's green. If I show you the overhead right here, you can see here is the Blackmagic. It's on. Here's the adapter. This is actually an optical adapter, so I don't have to have the doubler in. So this is in 1x right now. It's got macro capability. Here's my iris. It's a little out of focus because it's meant to be focused on the table. And then there's a servo zoom. I don't have it powered at the moment, so here's the cable that it would need to plug into. But Blackmagic does not put B4 lens ports on their studio cameras. And 120x of zoom. Can't move it because it's actually tied to the motor right now. And then at the front of this, big focus, manual focus. These are all geared, so you can put controls on these if you wanted to. There are motorized controllers, motorized lenses that have remote control on them. And you've got this nice long zoom. Keep going, keep going. I'm not even going to be able to hold it that still. There you go. And then I can zoom all the way out. So that right there is 15x. You know, you can go all the way up to the 7-up spot. Whoa! And then all the way back out. And you can see I've got a couple other lenses up there and a focus chart. And so this is something that I have done for many years. I started the B4, this lens, on M43 group on Facebook a decade ago. But right now, it is a Micro Four Thirds camera. And if you needed to bring 8 cameras for a conference, 8 of these is super easy to pack. 8 of these, not as easy, but if you needed to have an operator follow a presenter back and forth, you know, 6 of these and 2 of these can fit into a pretty small Pelican, and then an arsenal of lenses for exactly what you're going to need. And remember, these are zoom lenses, so you know you could have them change the shot during, well, not while it's live, but you can say, okay, give me a 2-shot. And he gets a 2-shot. Okay, now you cut to the 2-shot, and then you cut away to the wide. All right, give me the 1-shot. Okay, there, now I get the single, and that way you can do that. That will be it for today's show. Thank you all for being here. And as always, I say, thanks for watching.